Welcome everyone to another video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the update that just dropped today. Updates are always really exciting, new moves, new changes, but what's hype, what's not a big deal, and how does it impact my gameplay right now? And those are the questions that we're going to be answering right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at this update. So it says, in our previous community note, we highlight some changes that came to Pokemon Go that made trainer battles more fun and competitive experience. A more fun and competitive experience. In this update, we're excited to announce more changes focusing on trainer battles. Over the next couple weeks, you'll see some changes in Pokemon Go's various combat systems. Okay, interesting. Update to the combat system. Our team has polished the existing system to make trainer battles and Team Go Rocket battles more intuitive and responsive in Pokemon Go version 0.157.0. So expect an update to be rolling out before you see these combat changes. The first one is the timing for damage dealt and energy charge has been improved, and this essentially talks about that. It's essentially talking about undertapping. I don't think it's talking about self-piggybacking just yet. I do think it's mostly focusing on undertapping because it does talk about differences in damage dealt and energy charged. Essentially that you don't get the damage dealt and energy charge doesn't occur until your opponent or you do another fast or charge move or switch. So basically something else in the game has to happen before you're credited that energy. And I agree that it made it for like kind of a weird system in the sense that you like wait for your energy even though you've already done it. I understand that it takes away from some of the skill, and many of the best players in the world differentiate themselves because of their ability to undertap and overcome charge move priority. But you know, there'll be other ways to gain a competitive advantage in gameplay. So if this makes for a smoother gameplay and makes it easier for people to understand PvP, I'm all on board. Pokemon's health bar will briefly pulse when it's receiving damage. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not too sure what that's for. Exciting updates to existing attacks in Pokemon Go. Along with updates to the combat system, there will also be some updates to select attacks. Bubble Beam will now be a reliable attack debuff, which decreases the opponent's Pokemon's attack stat by one stage. We're excited to see what strategies this kicks off. So Bubble Beam, Jellicent, Mantine, those are probably the two most notable. Maybe like Suicune. Most notable, Bubble Beam. Mantine will be getting Bubble Beam later on the update. But those are some of the most notable Bubble Beam users. But the fact that Bubble Beam only does 20 damage, down from 40, or down from whatever it was, 45 I think it was, is a pretty big blow. And I'm not sure how relevant Bubble Beam will be, but we'll see how they decide to play it out. Making the attack lower, by one stage is basically reducing the attack by about 25%, maybe making it a little easier to farm, and I'm sure we'll see some strategies play out, especially from some of the best players in the world. Power Up Punch, essentially its damage got nerfed from being 35 energy 40 damage to being 35 energy 20 damage. Which is a pretty big blow, basically reducing the amount of damage to Power Punch in half, which is pretty dramatic, and making Power Punch a little bit less useful of a move, considering that it essentially reduces the damage by about 3 counters. So if you can imagine that, or cut the damage in half, so it's certainly going to have an impact. And certainly makes Pokemon like Medicham and Hitmonchan a little bit less viable and have a little bit less punch, for the lack of a better word. Psychic will now deal more damage and be more usable in gyms, raids, and trainer battles. And essentially, they changed Psychic. I forget what it was, like 70, 100 or something. A pretty bad move to 55, 90. So basically, a clone of Thunderbolt, and I think that makes a really good spread. You have Psyshock, which is the cheapest cheapest in terms of energy costs and the least energy efficient out of the three I'm going to be listing. Then you have Psychic, which is 55 energy. Then you have Future Sight, which is 60 or 65. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it is 60, or 60, whatever it is. And that's the one. That one is more energy efficient than Psychic. So that's kind of a really nice spread. And I think that's what you want to see out of your charge moves. As it costs more energy, it becomes more energy efficient. So you can. It shouldn't be the case that something is less energy cost and is more energy efficient. And there's also a chance that it decreases the Pokemon's defense stat. I'm not sure by 1 or 2 stages. But that's and I think it's a 10% chance. So likely a 2-stage debuff, which if you land can certainly flip some matches. Snarl has been updated to be like a energy generation move, and essentially it's a very fast energy, almost as fast as Mudshot, in between like Vine Whip and Mudshot. But its amount of damage is reduced. So again, it provides a really nice spread for dark fast moves. So you have the high energy, low damage Snarl, you have the in between in Feint Attack, and then you have the high damage, low energy generation in Bite. So that provides like a lot of really great options as dark Pokemon users, and then provides a lot of really interesting decisions on how you're going to run Umbreon. Are you going to run Umbreon with Snarl and to spam as much charge moves as possible? Or do you prefer a more consistent damage output throughout? And even if they block the move, you're still doing more damage with your fast move using Feint Attack. So we'll see how unique strategies will play out with the move Snarl. And more attacks will be added. So more attacks I'm always game for. Thunder Fang and Ice Fang will essentially be like Rock Throw clones, where they'll deal a lot of damage, and as well, but have like a little bit, like quite a bit lower, like below average energy generation. But I think the trade-off still makes it better than an average move. So, and Thunder Fang is going to be available to Arcanine, Steelix, which I'm really excited for the Sinister Cup meta. With Thunder Fang, it's going to have like a little bit more of a punch against Pokemon like Poliwrath. And then as well, the Ice Fang, you're going to see it run on Suicune, Mediana, Mawile. Mawile is a really interesting pick. Mawile will also get access to Fire Fang, which we'll read a little bit later on. And then as well, Drapion will get access to Ice Fang. I don't know right now what you would use Ice Fang for if you are a Drapion, because a Drapion, you're really worried just about ground Pokemon. But if you want to hit like Toxicroak, for example, with some neutral damage instead of running a poison move or a bug move or a dark move, now you have access to an ice fast move, which is really nice. And then as well, Fire Fang, since it's already in the game, is going to be adjusted accordingly. We're also going to see some new Pokemon learn some new attacks. Alolan Raichu with Thundershock essentially makes it like a really good replacement for Legacy Raichu. It doesn't quite fully replace it because Legacy Raichu also has Brick Break, which is a very cheap at 35 energy. You can't really get much cheaper than that in terms of energy for a charge move. But it does make it give you some really interesting options between Thundershock and Spark, where you're basically trading a little bit of damage for increased energy generation. Alolan Sandslash will get Ice Punch, which is a really nice ice move for it, and it's going to be like really cheap in terms of energy and gives it a lot more flexibility. So you'll certainly see that on some teams run, especially in freestyle cups or any time it's available. I don't think it's going to be that useful in Sinister because it is available, but who knows? I'm sure someone will think of something interesting. What I'm really excited about is Alolan Ninetales getting Charm. This will allow Alolan Ninetales to have a powerful, fast attack as opposed to one that's focused more on energy generation with Powder Snow. So it allows it to yield a ton of damage, and with its ice typing makes it kind of like a unique charm user compared to others. It does make it, admittedly, double weak to steel, and ice is not really that great of a defensive typing. It's not that bulky, but does have access to Psyshock, which is very cheap. Maybe the cheapest of any of the charge moves available to charm users right now. I can't think of one that's less energy. Maybe like Return, but Return and Psyshock can't really compare them. Golduck will get Bubble Beam, Synchro Noise, and Cross Chop. Clearly, there's some directors at Niantic that really like Psyduck, so this might be incentive for him to evolve his legendary Psyduck to Golduck, because it's gonna get I don't know if it needed 3 moves. That's quite a bit. So a little bit excessive, but interesting. Alolan Marowak will get Fire Spin, Flame Wheel. Flame Wheel's total trash. Don't worry about that unless you're trying to hit a Pokemon for like if you're hitting a normal Pokemon, you can use Flame Wheel, and that's going to be better than Bone Club, slightly better than Bone Club, and then obviously better than a double resisted Shadow Ball. But you probably have worse problems if you're running into that situation. And then Fire Spin will allow you to have some like really interesting matchups. For Sinister, Hex is probably still better because Hex allows you to at least be competitive against other ghosts, but Fire Spin does allow you to hit Steelix a little bit harder. Mantine with Bubble Beam, again, we talked about it earlier. Bubble Beam being nerfed in terms of its damage is a little bit disappointing, and doesn't make Mantine that much better, but we'll see how the metas play out. Then Mawile having Fire Fang, Ice Fang, and Power Out Punch. Both those give it really great options. Gives the ability to output the same damage and as well be able to generate a slight bit more energy, which will allow it to get to like Power Out Punch faster when compared to Bite. But Bite is what you want in the Sinister Cup because it allows you to hit super effective against Psychic and Ghost Pokemon. But Fire Fang, if you're gonna run any of the Fangs, Fire Fang is probably the way to go. It allows you to hit Steelix for super effective damage. But then you're kind of in a pickle against Poliwrath, which you would already be with Bite. And then Weavile also gets Snarl, which allows it to be really effective in some Master League battles. I have to try it out. It allows it to it has like a really interesting move pool in terms of Avalanche and Foul Play, so allow it to hit its opposing Pokemon with pretty hard hitting fast moves with its pretty decent attack stat. Will at least be interesting. Let's just say that. So really exciting update. Nothing too game breaking. Some considerations for Sinister that you want to think about. Obviously, the Power Up Punch makes Poliwrath and Medicham a little less relevant, but probably a little bit more for Medicham because it probably relied more on that Power Up Punch in this meta than Poliwrath, because Poliwrath with the Bubble and Ice Punch could beat a lot of the ghosts like Drifblim, for example, like Feint Attack, Dusclops, but it also makes Psychic Medicham a little bit better, a little bit more interesting, and then we might see some Thunderfang Steelix, and it's a slight upgrade to Mawile. Don't get too carried away with Mawile at this point in time. It certainly will have a place in the meta, and it may be moved up like half a spot, but it's not going to be the king or queen of the meta. So anyways, if you guys found that helpful, or if you guys want to see more update content, or want me to use any of these moves, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see everyone in the next video.